Hi, I am speaking with Miss Rote, who is the 7th grade teacher, and we're going to do a reflection of the lesson that she's doing. She knows this is for my evaluation, and this does not reflect her evaluation at all. And so we're going to go through the reflecting question, have a discussion on the lesson that she just implemented this week with the students. So you want to tell us about the lesson you implemented? Or?
Yes, I've been using little clips or very short Pixar videos to have the children notice, have them notice the different things that are happening in the viewing. So I've used some of the work from the Notice and Note and signpost work and incorporated STEM questions in it. And so we, and how they answer these questions. But when they notice a particular thing happening in the video, they're directed to a question. So what I've been really pleased with is how much stronger they've gotten in the week that we've been doing this at noticing when the character changes, noticing when the character's figuring out something, noticing when the conversation between the character and another character informs them about a life lesson that might exist in what they're watching.
And that's what I was going to ask you. How do you think it's going? But you just said they're digging deeper. Even though it's not text complexity, it's really a depth and comprehension.
Yeah, what the deal is, what I want is I want a foundation of thinking. So what we have is we have a foundation of thinking, the way you think about characters, the way you think about plot, the way you think about the literary elements. But we're using video because I have some really developing readers in my class. They don't read on grade level. And so reading itself becomes a struggle. And I want them to know how to think about text before I put text in front of them. So they're already actively thinking about text.
Right. So it's really the metacognition and the cognition that you really, without saying those words, that's what you're doing.
Yes. And they're getting very good at it. And they're using questions. So they're thinking about how something they see might change something. They're thinking about, why does something keep showing up? Well, that's going to lead right into noticing symbolism.
Right.
But right now, noticing that it's happening and having a question because it is happening develops this habit of viewing a certain way. Then I've taken I also am including read aloud with it. Now, they are reading in class. They're also reading. It's not like they're not reading, but I'm not asking this work out of their reading yet because I'm trying to build reading stamina.
They're still independently reading.
Independently reading in books of their level. And I read aloud to them, and we're using what we use from the viewing of these little videos. These little short little videos. We're using the discussion we have there. We're using the writing, and we use drawing in this too. They draw pictures also. We're using writing, drawing, discussion, answering a question, and then we're starting to take the answer that we find to the question to lead us to an idea about theme or conflict or foreshadowing. To
dig deeper in the text.
Yeah, so they just keep going in. With the video, they keep going deeper.
Right.
And so now when I read aloud to them, they use that same technique. And I really...
In the text, right.
I really believe that it is by starting with the video and the picture books, read alouds. I feel that I can teach the transfer into the heavier reading.
Right. That was my question. What effect did your decision to incorporate the use of the short films? Did it get the desired result or the achieved result for to dig deeper?
So far it has, and understand I haven't connected it to texts they read on their own.
Mm-hmm. So the next challenge is to make the connection. Right.
So that will be the next step, is to take it into whatever they are reading, whatever. And most of them are reading in, tiny little novels. Right. A few of them are reading in a higher level novel. I have a few that read at grade level.
Right.
They're reading at their grade level novels, and to expect them to transfer that. But this group needs a tremendous amount of support, and it needs to be habitual.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. Yes.
Intentionally habitual.
Yes. Yes.
Because what you did today with the clouds, and so you asked them to make the aha moment. So now if we come back into the text and use a thinking state, what connection can we make between that aha moment that the cloud had? Even, maybe I was thinking too deep with it, because to me the cloud went through the phases of depression or grief.
Yeah, yes.
And so if they can see that, I know that's deep, but even within a character development or when a character analysis, as you dig deeper through your units, how does the main character or the protagonist change? How do they go through that shift? And
so I'm real excited about having this foundation, and it goes from that viewing, and so, which is so concrete. Mm-hmm. It's so concrete, and they're not fighting it. Okay,
they're excited.
Yeah, well, they're not fighting trying to do this. Mm-hmm. Unless someone next to them is poking them. Okay, but they're not fighting trying to do this to do the viewing, mm-hmm. And so at the same time they're reading daily, and we have extended now our independent reading time is now extending into their stamina time is now between 10 and 15 minutes.
Because you started with 5?
I started with 5, and what they didn't know, I really started with 3.
Okay.
Okay. So we went from 3 to 5. We stayed at 5 a few days. So we're in the 4th week of school, and we stayed at 5. We moved it to 6, and then so they would hear me move the reading up. And the amount of time they stay in their text. Mm-hmm. And we are just about, I would say I'm 2 weeks away from being able to use that time as small group and conference time. Right now, I'm using it to teach them to keep reading, so that that becomes my small group time. And so you can't just say, okay, I'm going to do small group. You've got to build this thing. Mm-hmm. And so the viewing is just really building the thinking. They're doing some fine thinking on story, and so I'm real pleased.
So my other question is, how can we extend, or how might we apply what you've seen with these short films? How can we kind of take this for the long run? You kind of touched on it for the rest of the school year. Like you said, I think starting with something concrete. Mm-hmm. And that's what that film represents, a concrete, tangible thing, because you want to get to an abstract idea. So how can we use this as you go forward?
As you go forward, I think that figuring out, like when we go into a deeper study of character, then I'm going to have to put some more complex video in front of them. But I think that's where you start, mm-hmm. is with the complexity. With the viewing, so that they, what's being allowed here is they're allowed to think so much stronger than their reading level allows them to think, because their reading level is so low. It's not that they think at a low level. Right. It's that their reading level is so low that they never get a chance to practice thinking deeply about text. So I
think that's real awesome when you're saying how the comprehension and the cognition level are not necessarily the same, because you think a comprehension, because they can read low, then they must be thinking low, but it's not. at all.
No, and so if you only ask them comprehension questions on their thinking, on their reading, and their reading level is so low, they quit on you. They quit on themselves.
Right.
And so what the deal is figuring out what kind of reading work are we going to do, but we're never going to lower the level of our thinking.
Right.
And that's what the videos allow us to do, is not lower the level of thinking.
Right. And so even as you go forward, as we will incorporate some more thinking stems, and then we'll incorporate some star stems, and we're starting off with the pure, what did they notice? What are you seeing? What are you seeing?
Absolutely. All of that will be included in,
right,
as we view everything that I want to teach them through their reading. We're going to first teach through viewing. Good. And I think we'll continue that throughout the year. I don't think this is just a one. I'm so excited about what I'm hearing them talk about, and what I'm watching them think. And I really believe we can transfer it to their own reading,
right? And push them, push them further.
Yeah. As we do all the word work that has to be done,
right,
to increase their reading levels and ability. So I'm pleased.
Good. So as you reflect on this conversation that we've had, how has it helped? How has it helped you? Well, you're always thinking and learning and mindful, but how has this talk helped you? I think
it makes me realize by stopping and talking about it and looking at the success, which it's been a very difficult start of year. We have some real serious behavior issues.
Interesting personality.
Yeah, we really, So what I'm seeing is there is success. There's just been some really successful work happening, and what it also lets me see is how I could put a foundation, viewing foundation, on the base of all the things I want to teach them. Like I will be able to use viewing when I go to informational text.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You see, the viewing and the questioning and the thinking that goes around informational text can happen starting with the same way I've started these, with these little these are all little fiction.
Right.
Yeah, little short.
But when you get into real life, informational stories.
Yeah. I'll put informational viewing in front of them. I'll do the same thing. Real short little, it's not like we're not sitting in front of class watching a movie.
Right.
We are watching short little clips.
2 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah.
The longest one I've had is 6 minutes.
Right.
That's the longest one I've had. So, it's I'm pleased, and that's how I plan to keep it in here, because it just pulls them in. They're right with it, and they're willing to try.
Pulls them in, settles them down, and helps them focus.
Yeah, it does, and then
it guides the conversation.
And once they're another thing is that how important that they feel competent at something. So they feel competent thinking, because we've had so much discussion. And their voice is heard, and other people answer to what they say, that they start feeling kind of competent. Instead of looking for the right answer, they're thinking, and they're talking about it. And it's not about the right answer. It's about how well you think. Right. And can you show me evidence in the text that proves what you just said, or evidence in the video clip that proves what you just said. As a matter of fact, we've gone back in the clip before when someone has said something somewhat off the wall, and people are trying to decide, well,
I didn't see that.
We go back and we look, and
and so then you can take that to reading. So when you're internally arguing with yourself, well, let's go back and look at that. Can I prove that? So I appreciate your insight and your sharing what you're doing in the classroom, and even allowing me to come into the classroom. I don't take that for granted, Ms. Rote. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.